This programme was produced and first aired on Access Manawatu with support from New Zealand On Air.
Community Access Radio. Access Manawatu.
Welcome to Manawatu Metalheads Radio. Local, national and international on Access Manawatu 999 AM.
This is a heavy metal disclaimer.
This show may contain content which may offend someone out there. These are views reflected by the presenters and not that of the station. Feel free to contact us if you have any issues.
So you go, Destruction's one of your other bands, right?
Yeah, Destruction is basically my main band. Yeah, right, yeah.
Oh, it must be fun to have a few bands on the go at one time.
Yeah, I mean, usually I've been almost focusing on my main band, and it's been busy enough. But when we started this project, it was just too tempting to do it or to not do it. So now it's a little busy, but I like busy.
Oh, well, that's it. I mean, you don't want to be stuck in a rut and just doing the same old, eh?
Exactly. It's a nice opportunity to do something else and to work with some great other musicians, and there's a lot of history behind this project. So it's a great thing, and it makes keeps the excitement. If you're doing this for 31 years like I do, it's always important to stay excited about what you do, because I think as a musician, only then you can do like your best work. As soon as you're see it as a job, it's over.
Well, that's right. I mean, as you say, 31 years. I mean, that's a good innings already. And yeah, I mean, it must be a bit of a chore. A bit of a mission to keep it fresh.
Yeah, it is. But it's sometimes it's rough because it's music business. But in the end, I do what I love. And some people say if you love it, it's not work. So it has a lot to do with the passion and stuff. So music and rock and roll, heavy metal is just my life, and so it's a great thing to do. I mean, I could never imagine 31 years ago that I would be a musician after all those years. Crazy.
That's fantastic, and it's a great example for other people that are out there and just starting, because it is something that a lot of people see as, well, hey, is this something that can be you can be a success at, and to be 31 years in the business is pretty damn impressive.
Yeah, and we had all the ups and downs you have. We've been very young at the beginning. We've been very unexperienced, and were very successful in the early days, and then we had the usual problems, the split up, the management problems, and then we had several years in separation. We had the great reunion, and now since 15 years we're doing this in a great second attack, basically. It's been also some crazy tours, that were amazing, and other tours that were almost breaking up the band when promoters don't pay you and stuff. But after all, it's a dream to do this, and sometimes when I'm at the end of the world, somewhere waking up in my hotel, I'm still like, I still can't believe I'm still doing this after all.
Oh, that's awesome, mate. Well, anyway, we'll talk a little bit about the band or the project that you've currently got running, and that's the German Panzer. Could you tell us a little bit about the birth of the band?
Yeah, Panzer was founded at the beginning of this year when the guys from Accept called me up and told me about that they want to do a project, and I thought it's a joke, first of all, because why do you call me? Because I'm coming from a little more of extreme direction, but we know each other since a long time, and they're great guys, and they know I'm a big heavy metal fan. So I was honored that they called me up, and after the first meeting, we knew we could make this work because we're all professionals. We all love what we do. We know we have this time slots, but we need to plan this right. And so from January till now, basically, we've been, producing, recording, writing, and doing all the other stuff in between the tourings of Accept and Destruction, which was a little stressful, but on the other side, it was also very exciting because it's a whole new project, and we still don't know how people will react. I mean, we get the first reactions now, but still, it's something new, so it's always very exciting.
Well, that's it. The album is out down under in about 10 days. And we've had the first single that I've been playing on my radio show, and I mean, dude, I mean, it's a real rocker, eh? And that's the thing. I mean, it's like my own perception of the album was that it's like Accept with the extra bite.
Yeah, that's actually a good thing. Yeah, I mean, of course, the guitar player style. Herman has this very German heavy metal playing style. He's like a riff machine, and when we composed the songs, we wanted it to sound like old new wave of British heavy metal meets like a speed edge, So it was we didn't want this album to sound like some old man trying to do another heavy metal album. We wanted this album to kick ass. So I think we achieved the aim that the album sounds very fresh and it's kicking ass and has a lot of those catchy moments, but also it's like quite metal and quite in your face.
Well, that's right. I mean, it's definitely in your face, and it's got a great energy to it. It must have been fun working with Herman. He has, I mean, he's a riff master.
Yeah, he is. It's great to work spontaneously with him because he's not afraid of songwriting. Songwriting for him is a joy, and a lot of other musicians they struggle with writing and they think it's complicated and stuff. And Herman has so much experience that writing with him was very easy. And yeah, he's like a riff machine. So whatever I need from him, he's providing it. And it was a very smooth songwriting process, and I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, what was the writing and recording process like with them guys? Because it would have been they would have had a lot of input with that as well.
Yeah, I mean, it was basically a mixture of all different writing styles. Some stuff was written by Herman, some stuff was written by me alone. Then some stuff we wrote together in the studio, and some stuff was founded basically in the rehearsal room. But as we didn't have so much time to rehearse, we basically been sending a lot of files back and forth, and we finally created the final versions in the studio while we recorded them. So it was a little bit like modern songwriting, like sending stuff and files, and a little bit of the old school way in the recording process, and also very spontaneously in the studio sometimes, and in the rehearsal room. So I think it was a good mix of all the ways you could actually write songs.
Excellent. So what would you describe as some of the lyrical themes?
I'm dealing with the shit that happens in daily life. I'm traveling a lot with the band. I have the opportunity to see the world, and I'm just following what I see, and I write it down. It's stuff that bothers me, stuff that is going on my nerves, or stuff that is like, kind of kicking my ass. So it's a lot of stuff is, of course, rather like criticizing what I see, and I'm coming from the thrash background, where we've always been having social criticism in the lyrics. So that's just my best way of writing lyrics. Of course, some songs are also dealing with the rock and roll subjects, like Freak Show is basically dealing with being different, being like a rock and roll guy, and some other stuff is more personal. But basically, it's a lot of. I'm writing more about real things in life.
Oh, that's awesome. So, what would you describe as the influences for the band? I mean, other than obviously Accept.
Judas Priest. I think Judas Priest is like the most metal band for all of us. We all love Priest as the founders of heavy metal back in the day, and still going strong. And I think when it comes to one band that we all love the most, it's Judas Priest, and of course the edge, like the speed and stuff, is also coming from Motorhead. That's also another influence that the band that we all love. So I think in between Priest and Motorhead is like the most of the influences, and of course it's the background of both bands. Herman with Accept and me with Destruction that brings in the other side.
Oh, that's awesome. And both those other bands have both been around for so long as well. I mean, great influences. And I mean, the fact that they're both still going is it's a great thing to know that, I mean, back when I can imagine you first started, like you said earlier, you would never have dreamed that you would still be making heavy metal 31 years later. I mean, it's a pretty awesome testament to a genre that a lot of people would have poo-pooed, so to speak, years ago, and to see that we're still going hard. I mean, it's awesome.
It's crazy. You know what I remember very, very, very well? We've been touring with Motorhead back in the day many times with Destruction, and I remember Lemmy's birthday when he was turning 45. We played with them in London, and I think it was Hammersmith Odeon, like a very famous London venue. And we played with them. Lemmy turned 45, and I was 25, And now it's like so many years later, Lemmy is still there. He's 68 now. I mean, he was struggling lately, of course. We all heard about that. But he's back on stage and he's still playing, and I'm back. I'm still here too. It's crazy. I never thought at that time that we could do it that far, and basically Lemmy was my age those 20 years back, so it's crazy. I think I really want to do this as long as I can, but I never thought we could do it as long as we did it already. So it's anything else in the future is a gift anyways.
Well, that's right. And Lemmy is a great example of even going through the hard times. I understand his sets are a lot shorter nowadays, but dude, we saw him down here. It was maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and dude, he was just a powerhouse, eh? And he's a great example, I mean, even though he drinks and he smokes and all that sort of carry on, it's great to see people still doing it at his age. It's a fantastic example.
I mean, we have a lot of those people are still active, Also, like Ozzy is a very good example for that. Ozzy Osbourne also had his struggles and his weird moments and his ups and downs, but he's still there also. And there's a lot of those classic rock bands that are still going strong, and that's amazing because basically they're the first generation of metal bands, and a lot of them are still around. That means everybody's talking about the Rolling Stones and blah blah blah, but what about all those metal bands that are still like on stage and they have like a different tour schedule than the Rolling Stones? They play a lot of more shows. And they don't just go around with their Learjet. A lot of the metal bands are still touring the old way in the tour bus, and so it's a big I say it's a role model for us for the band of the next generation. That still those bands are still going strong.
Well, that's it. I mean, they're still playing huge sets. I mean, like we had Black Sabbath down here the start of last year, and it was an hour and a half plus set, and I mean, that's just huge, especially when you get bands, some of the younger bands, and they come out and they'll play a 45-minute to an hour. And,
exactly.
And it's like, exactly. Hey, what's going on here?
That's exactly. A lot of the young bands are coming on, and after 1 hour, the show is over. And like the old classic bands still play up to 2 hours. And of course, they have a big legacy and a lot of great songs to play. That's the big difference. I think they have so much of history in their set that it's hard to cut down the set list.
Oh, that's exactly it. And I mean, I know this is slightly non-metal, but I saw Neil Young about a year and a half ago, and that guy played a 3-hour set. He went off at like the 2 hour, 2 and 45 minute time for a 5 minute break, and came back for an encore. But it was a 3 hour set, man, and it was
That's
like,
crazy.
holy hell!
That's fucking crazy. But it shows how much he loves what he does. Like
Exactly, and it's that passion, eh?
if you love what you do, why should you go on stage only for 1 hour? If you have passion
Well, that's
for
it.
what you do, you try to play value for money for the show or for the kids.
With touring, do you guys get to play a lot of local shows, that sort of thing? Is that still on the cards, or do you just get out in the international scene?
I mean, with Panzer now, we're just starting to play live because everybody's still busy on tour, except our in Australia at the moment. Actually, I don't know. They don't play New
Yep.
Zealand, I guess, right? There's no show in New Zealand, but
We
yeah,
haven't had them here, but
yeah, they're in Oz right now, and Destruction will go to Brazil, and then next year we're gonna meet up for some shows with Panzer, and yeah, hopefully, I mean, we're gonna start with festivals for Panzer in the next season. So we're still hoping for getting invited for the Soundwave. That would be a great opportunity to present Panzer in Australia or down under. I don't know. There's no festivals in New Zealand, right? Is there any? Never heard.
well, there isn't a huge lot, but we've actually got one that's just started up last year, and we're having the second leg of it this year. And what that is it's called Westfest, and that has quite a few of the big bands from the Soundwave. So, for example, this year we've got Judas Priest coming.
Oh, nice.
I'm absolutely wrapped with that.
That would be a perfect
And-
thing, Panzer and Judas Priest in New Zealand in one festival.
Oh, that's it. That was what I was thinking. But next time when you come down to Soundwave, I mean, it would absolutely be awesome to get you down here. I actually know the promoter, so I will get on to him about that when.
You should recommend it. I think it's people want to see something new, and Panzer has history, and in the same thing, it's something new for the people also. So I think it would be a perfect band for the festivals. I mean, we have a lot of offers from European festivals already here, so hopefully it's going to go well. But yeah, it would be nice to come down under.
Oh, it'd be absolutely fantastic to have you guys down here, especially, I mean, with your legacy, and the guys from Accept as well. I mean, Accept is still extremely well known down here, and I mean, it was absolutely fantastic to see them playing Oz. I haven't been able to make it over there, but I got to talk to Wolf a few weeks back, and just absolutely amazing guy to talk to, eh? And as an older metalhead myself, I mean, it's amazing to see, like we talked about earlier, the band's still going. That were around when I was a youngster. I mean, I'm 40 years now, and when I was a little 16-year-old, Accept was one of the bigger bands that I was listening to and things like that. So I mean, it's fantastic to see it still alive so much.
Yeah, and they also still play a 2-hour set. They also play a long show. So it's fantastic to see that the old bands can go strong again. I mean, it's also because there's a new generation of metal kids now that appreciates the roots. Of course, there's a lot of hipsters listening to all the new metal and metalcore and stuff, but there's also a whole new generation of classic heavy metal fans, and that's fantastic to see. I mean, I see that all over the world when we tour with Destruction. Wherever we go, there's a lot of front row kids that are barely 20. Amazing.
Oh, that's awesome to hear, right? That's fantastic. Because the metal scene, it's changed over the years. I mean, when we were young, it was very much still a thing that, you were seen as a bit of a freak to be into your metal. But nowadays it's a lot more accepted and things like that. And we also have the history. And that's thanks to people like Ozzy Osbourne that have not made it mainstream, but they've brought it out so that, mainstream media and things are now aware of it. And, we're getting a lot more coverage.
Yeah, I think also what was very important, at least here in Europe, I see that everywhere, is that the festivals are kind of big events. So people recognize it. There's a lot of people going to those festivals, and then it's very peaceful, you know. So people realize that heavy metal is not just about drinking and fucking making trouble. It's like a big community of people that can celebrate music in a very peaceful way. And I don't think many music styles have this, actually. As soon as you put 20,000 people at one place, people start to kill each other, you know. So not at the heavy metal shows, and that has, at least here in Europe, gotten metal much more famous over the media, because everybody's surprised about this community of underground freaks that are celebrating together in such a nice way, and therefore that's one of the biggest changes compared to the past, I think.
Well, that's right. And talking to venues and that here, even here in New Zealand, I mean, you know, we're talking about security and things like that. I mean, a lot of the bar owners don't even worry about security when it comes to a metal show, whereas they'll have some other shows and they know they're going to get a different crowd, and yeah, they have to worry about security. But when you go to a metal show, you know, somebody gets knocked over or something, you know, the next guy picks them up, you know. And things like that. Sure, we get a bit boisterous and everything, but it's always in a non-violent way, which is the beauty of metal, because especially considering that a lot of it is an expression of our violence or our anger in a non-violent way.
Yeah, of course, it's because people get the energy out in the mosh pit or in the concert, and they're not going to the concert just to kick other people's asses. You know, they go there to have fun together, and that's I think the most obscure thing for the normal people about metal. You know, that people look the way they look, but then at the end when they go to the shows, they're all like brothers and sisters. And I think if other music styles would be that way, the whole world would be much more peaceful.
Well, that's right. I mean, and there's definitely a brotherhood type feeling amongst the metal community, and that's, I mean, it's quite an amazing thing, and it's a pleasure to be a part of, especially as the brotherhood gets older, so to speak, you know. Because I mean, it's like a music genre that you just don't grow out of. You know, you might find, you know, these little dudes are into hip hop and all that sort of stuff, but as they get a little bit older, they go off and they, you know, might go into the blues or something like that. They sort of soften up and things. But whereas with metal, you just it's in the blood. You don't change.
That's it, exactly. It's more than just music. It's a lifestyle. You know, I think that's the big
exactly.
Thing. Yeah.
That's definitely. I mean, dude, I've still got my long hair and everything, and the goatee and everything. So you know, that's awesome. Anyway, we better cut, sort of round this off. Anyway, I've got one last question for you, if you don't mind.
Sure.
And that would be words of advice for young people and young musicians.
I think it's like real life. You know, you first of all, this will not be an easy ride. It's going to be a lot of work. So you have to learn to stand up and do your stuff. You know, you're gonna have a lot of difficulties in this music business because it's a monkey business, as we all know. So yeah, you need a long breath, and you have to learn to stand up again all the time and be yourself. Don't be just a copycat. You know, try to be original. I think it's one of the most important things in the music scene. After all, try to be yourself and don't go after all the trends and stuff. You know, create your own music and be the new trend. I think that's what I can say to everybody else. It's better to achieve your own style and die with pride than to sell your soul for shitty music and make some fucking money that's worth nothing. So that's all I can advise. And I think the most important part why a lot of young bands are breaking up is either the wrong girlfriend, so be careful about the chicks, and second of all, it's the fights in between the band. You know, like a band has to be a community, so you have to learn to deal with your friends in the band and be a community, and then the band can go through all the fucking bad and good times.
Exactly. No, that's absolutely brilliant advice, and for a lot of young bands, you know, it's great to have people that are able to pass this stuff on, especially with 31 years in the industry. It must be quite a change from when you first started out, because the scene in Germany at that stage would have been quite different.
When we started, there was no metal scene, so we were the metal scene at the beginning. Like in my area, was just a handful of people, and basically we formed the band. After all, it was us and some friends hanging around with us were the only people from the scene back in the day. So of course this has changed a lot, and but still in my region here, I'm coming from all the countryside or in the southwest. It's still not the best metal region in Germany, but it has established a small and very dedicated scene meanwhile. So I'm proud to see this. I'm proud to go through my city and see that there's metalheads running around and people come to me and appreciating what Destruction has achieved and stuff. And it's great that this underground music, like that is totally ignored by the mainstream media, has made its own way.
Well, that's it. Especially in a country like Germany, it would have been quite difficult to be in a metal band at that time. Yeah,
Germany is quite conservative, and stuff has changed in the last 10 years, but still people look still at me in a strange way, But it depends where you are, but Germany is not really a rock and roll country. As much as I love my homeland, but we're not a rock and roll country.
Yeah, that's right. It was really interesting. I watched that Heavy Metal in Baghdad movie or documentary not so long ago, and it was really interesting to see what it was like. For a country like that where you were essentially persecuted for being into heavy metal, it's an amazing thing for these guys to actually stand up and say, hey, I'm a metal band, and fight for it like that. It's amazing to see that passion and that drive, because a lot of us in the free world, so to speak, take that for granted.
Oh yeah, would you risk your life for music? Who would do that? Like metal fans do, and that shows how dedicated the scene is and how tight people are together. So it's amazing, and I don't think any other in any other scene is like that. I think it's basically the rock and roll background, and the international community is very strong in metal, and that's fucking amazing.
It is, and that's part of the thing that I love about metal is A, it's so personal, and B, it's something that I've grown up with as a young person, and I'm still going hard, It's something that I know that it'll never die in me. And I'm extremely proud to see that the scene has got to where it's gone, and that it's still going even harder. It's definitely an amazing thing to be a part of.
Of course, yes it is.
Hey, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Hopefully we'll see you down under. And once again, thank you so much for calling.
Thanks a lot. Hello to New Zealand, and cheers for the support, my friend. And hopefully we're gonna come down next year and see you live down there.
That would be absolutely fantastic. Hey, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much, man. Have a nice one.
Okay. Yeah, you too. Bye-bye.
Access Manawatu is a non-profit radio station.
We exist to help people from Manawatu make programs just like this one.
All of our shows are free to listen to and free to make.
If you like what you hear and you'd like to help us make more,
you can donate through our website.
Go to www.accessmanawatu.co.nz and click on the donate link on the front page to help us keep on giving people their fair share of the air.